Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to talk about the brand new Persona collab that has just come back to North America after a prolonged absence. So, due to the fact that it has been absent from the game for quite some time, all of the cards have received various buffs to try and bring them in line with currently available options. Unfortunately, this is still a 5-stone event, which means that the bottom rarity is going to be quite lackluster. And that is actually the case here. And that's because none of them have weapon assist, they have low weighted stats, and many of them it might be difficult to find value with, even if for your first copy. But by comparison, the higher rarity cards have weapon assist, they have significantly more value, but at the same time, they only comprise 15% of the total rolling pool, with 85% of them being for the bottom rarity. And as a result of that, it makes it quite an unappealing event to roll in despite the 5 magic stone cost, because when you think about it, 85% of the time you are going to be probably quite sad, and that's obviously not the ideal situation. But on the flip side, because it is a 5-stone event, it only costs 4 trade fodder to monster exchange for any of the top rarity cards. So if the top rarity cards seem appealing to you and you are in agreement with myself that rolling is not the best course of action, just using the monster exchange system may be the best course of action. With that being said, I want to just give you a quick little summary highlight of the bottom rarity. All the cards at least have the full 9 awakenings, which isn't always the case for bottom rarity, but sadly they have terribly low weighted stats, and it might be difficult to truly find a use for many of them because without a weapon assist, it makes it harder to justify inheriting, and at the same time, they may not necessarily replace or surpass other options if you have a reasonably deep monster box. So, for the 6-star cards, many of them actually have a Revo form, and that means that evolution form has the capacity to take 4 killer latents. They can have 8 latent slots instead of 6, but at the same time, they will be locked into that evolution. You can't reverse it, you can't change it. It's going to be a problematic thing down in the road if you don't gain immediate value from them right away. So for the cards with that Revo evolution, I'll give another friendly reminder that this is a commitment evolution. Like if you commit to this, you can't undo it, which could be problematic when power creep does raise its ugly head. Without further ado, let's just jump right into the cards. So the first card is actually a new transforming girl, and she comes with 2 skill boosts in her base form along with a 12-turn transformation, which is actually quite amazing because it's 2-turn delay plus 2 skill boosts. I may have made a mistake and it didn't say 4 effective skill boosts, but she's kind of like Lamp in the sense that she does provide you with the delay, she does provide you with the big skill boost, and she does have a skill bind resist in her base form. Once transformed, she has 3 enhanced Heart Orb Awakenings with a reasonably solid RCV stat. She has double VDP and then a Devil and an Attacker Killer, so a reasonable spread of awakenings. She has offensive capabilities against devils and attackers with that VDP. She has the capacity to heal yourself, and she does have a powerful active skill. This active skill will be able to create a tri-elemental board of fire, light, and heal orbs on an 8-turn cooldown, so that's already pretty good value. But it will also give you 20% maximum health heal, probably not as relevant, but it will give you 5 turns of binds and awoken binds being cleared. So you have 4 effective skill boosts, you have your bind and awoken bind clearing solution. So if you're running Dante REM teams, obviously it does a little bit of overlap with Dante in terms of the awoken bind clear, but at the same time it's still a tri-elemental board changer, so it can make your life easier. And as a result, I kind of feel like she's almost like a pseudo hybrid like card between like kind of Duval and Amaterasu. She has enhanced hard orbs but much less RCV compared to Amaterasu, and she has 4 effective skill boosts compared to Duval's 6, so she's kind of like a weird hybrid cross between the two, so to speak. She does create orbs at least, she does have a bind clearing role, but that also means if you were lacking both of those cards, you could use someone alongside of her to possibly shore up the gaps in your team. And as a whole, I find that she is quite a strong sub for mono fire teams because she's going to help you transform, she's going to give you a powerful active afterwards that does have at least an orb changing component afterwards, and she does provide that skill bind resist, which may or may not be an issue depending on the types of cards you plan to bring in a dungeon. So as a whole, she can function as a reasonably strong healing solution, damage output for mono fire, or even mono light if that is what you're actually building for. In terms of her weapon assist, she provides you with a single blind, a single jammer, which has beautiful synergy with any of the Samurai 3 weapons because they provide 4 of any one type of resist, along with passive damage. So some extra rows, some extra orb enhances. It's never going to be a bad thing, and if you're just shoring up Samurai 3 weapons, you're going to have a pretty good time here because you just layered in additional damage for your entire team. For the active skill that comes with this weapon assist, it gives you a gemstone style multiplier because it scales off of the number of fire rows on the team, and which in turn can give a spectacularly large attack multiplier if you have many of those fire rows already. So with the weapon assist itself, you already have 2. You ideally want to have at least 6 total, more I'd say, because you want to have bigger than a 3 times burst, I would say. So this weapon does definitely hinge greatly on how many fire rows you can incorporate on your team. The more you add to your team, the better the damage output, the better value this weapon assist has. So in terms of what evolution to pursue, you need to determine whether or not you need a sub that can fill this type of role, or do you need a weapon assist that can give you burst and additional passive damage. Both are strong options overall. For the next card, this is another transforming card who has many similarities to A10 because of the fact that he has a 10 combo along with 6 unique killer awakenings, which means that if he's facing a spawn with 2 of those typings that overlap, that's 3 times, 3 times, 5 times, that's 9 times 5, or 45 times personal damage. Plus, he can utilize certain killer latents, or he could use the VDP latent. But the point of the matter is he has tremendous amounts of personal damage against the majority of spawns in the game, which obviously is meaningful. And like A10, if you don't pursue the super skill boost, super awakening, he has no skill boost whatsoever. But once transformed, he has a 2-turn base cooldown, which does give you a 1.5 times burst. So that's helpful because you're able to inherit something longer on top of it, get that high impact inherit, and then kind of ride out this little attack buff for the rest of the dungeon, because that might be meaningful because at the end of things like Shura Realm, Altarena Fort, you're going to be facing quite tanky spawns. And if you have access to a little attack buff on a regular basis, you can overwrite attack debuffs or just give yourself 50% more damage output for your entire team. But the fun does not stop there. He's actually quite a powerful rainbow leader because for devil types, you gain 2 times health, 18 times attack, and 25% damage reduction when you match 4 or more colors and 7 combos total. Incredibly easy activation requirement. And you also get 1 damage worth of auto follow attack damage. So you can beautifully pair yourself with Lucia because she does also require devils. She does give +3 combos. So with the 2 leaders, you get +3 combos, which in turn will proc his 10 combo more reliably. You have massive effective health for devil type cards. Large multiplier. Lucia hits like a truck. Incredibly valuable card overall. And obviously the difficulty would be finding all the best devils possible to populate your team, along with having the required skill boost needed. And with Lucia, you at least can guarantee those 10 combos more easily. But let's say you didn't want to use him as a leader. You can definitely utilize him as a sub, assuming you can actually hit that 10 combo requirement. If you don't hit that 10 combo requirement, he's nowhere near as valuable. But if you have a team composition with either bonus combos, 7x6, and hit those 10 combos reliably, you're going to have a wonderful damage option. And he is different typing than A10. He's also a different color. So it can possibly open up different team composition options for a given monster box. For his weapon assist, he will provide you with a single skill boost, a single poison resist, and an attack well above 80%. So again, I'm going to draw like combinations with Samurai 3 weapons. With a Samurai 3 weapon, you'd have 2 skill boosts, full poison immunity, and one of the owning cards has the ability to gain 50% personal damage when above 80% health. Now, for the most part, this awakening tends to be one of the weaker offensive ones because its window for opportunity is smaller and it only provides 1.5, not 2 times damage like 7 combo or attack well below 50%. So it's less amazing, but at the same time, it's kind of included free, quote unquote, in this weapon assist. And if you stick this on top of your high damage dealing card, you just gave your primary damage dealer 50% damage output increase. That's pretty great overall when you really think about it. And the actual active skill tied to this weapon gives you 300,000 fixed or true damage, which is great for button farming or even executing latent Tamadras in Altarena 4 who have exactly that amount of health. But it does also give 3 turns of 3 times attack. And 3 turns for 3 times attack is a meaningful burst because it allows you to ride your way through the later floors of challenging content. And in the case of Shura Realm, you can't feasibly one-shot the final floors. It's going to be something you have to spend multiple turns on. And with that in mind, you have multiple turns of big burst. It's going to bring it down much faster, give you much smoother, cleaner clears overall. So the nice part about this card is he has a powerful non-weapon assist form, but once this form has kind of lost its value, you can convert it to a weapon assist, which in turn might again provide more value moving forward, which is nice because it's not a Revo evolution, which means you can actually swap and change their forms. For Yuki, in their non-Revo form, they can have 4 effective skill boosts. They have double 7 combo. They have an okay rainbow board changer that does a bit of button damage, which is probably irrelevant because it's not that high overall. But at the same time, I feel like it's just a relatively generic rainbow sub. They're not doing anything particularly amazing. There's no resist. Their active skill just gives you a board unlock. It's not like clearing unable to match orb effects, bind clearing, etc. It's just a card, like it does work, which is unfortunate because the Revo form is where most of the value lies. But again, this form is a permanent evolution, which means if you commit to this, you can't change it in the future when he does eventually get power crept, because everything will be power crept at some point in time. It's just a matter of can you gain enough value from it within whatever time frame you're going to be using them until something new comes along that you actually acquire. Because in this form here, they have 777 combo, so they have better personal damage. They have balance typing, which means they can take any killer, and they also have that Revo bonus of 2 extra latent slots, which means they can gain 4 latent killers of your choice. So you can basically customize Yuki to being a tremendously powerful offensive damage solution because of all the personal damage he can gain access to. In terms of the active skill, it has synergy with their own skill charge. They give a full rainbow board, a full heal, and fully clears all unable to match orb effects. So that 14 turn cooldown can definitely be shrunken down, which in turn gives you higher uptime on your active skill. And while unable to match orb effects are not always the most common thing, it's nice to have a counter. Like, it's a nice alternative to Dark Kali, but also a much more offensive option as well at the same time. And their leader skill actually is quite interesting. If they are able to match specifically fire, water, and light, it has to be those exact 3 colors, you will gain 60% damage reduction and 15 times attack total. 60% damage reduction is tremendous amounts of damage reduction, and if you pair someone tanky like Valentine's Ideal or Shinji and Rei, you will gain access to more effective health in a passive form. Like, Shinji and Rei and Valentine's Ideal have much easier to achieve effective health requirements. It's not 3 specific colors. And because of that, you will have a bit more breathing room. Because if you pair to, say, double Yuki, you have huge damage reduction when it works. But for floors where you don't have your 3 specific colors, you're going to have a truly bad time. So, as a result, pair with someone else and you can have a powerful and tanky rainbow leader. For their weapon assist, they have 2 Water Orb enhances, and then 40% blind and jammer resist. So it, again, can be used to help you achieve whatever resistant threshold you're trying to meet. And also a bit of passive damage is never a bad thing. For the active skill, it gives you 3 turns of 75% damage reduction, and then 3 turns all orbs appear locked. So it's kind of like a weird counter to spinners. And that damage reduction, if you are able to somehow proc it early on in a dungeon, you could potentially ride out that large amount of damage reduction for transforming. But at the same time, you have to be aware that it's a 15 turn cooldown. You use it on someone even like Lutina, it's 16 turns. So you have to get to 16 turns first, then use the big shield. Then you can like shore up the last several turns because most things transform at 18. So you've got a quite narrow window of opportunity to truly take advantage of this weapon assist, I feel. But if you're okay with just the awakenings, it can work out. And then the big shield might pay dividends off later on if you do encounter a problematic area. The next card here has Super Blind Resist, double VDP, and 2 enhanced light heart orbs in their base form, or they could have 4 skill boosts. And this is a reasonable card overall because you have modest personal damage when you match a VDP. You have some healing capabilities. You could have enough to transform or super blind resist. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's an exceptionally standout card, mostly because as a leader skill, the effect is underwhelming. And you do create 8 light orbs along with 100% defense break, but his Revo form is just so much more appealing, and his weapon assist is truly magical. So in all honesty, it's better to focus our attention there. So for his Revo form, you have super blind resist still through super awakenings, and you have more VDP damage as well as being able to take any killer latent. You do have 2 enhanced heart orbs with a bit better RCV, so that can provide modest healing. It's not the best healing solution, but it's a reasonable healing solution. And the active skill has been upgraded. It gives you 100% defense break for 1 turn, 2 times attack for light, and then creates 9 light orbs. So you guarantee yourself a VDP, you get a little bit of burst, which helps again guarantee you actually kill said spawn, and the 100% defense break can be situationally helpful. It tends to have the most value right now in training arenas because those dungeons have comically high amounts of defense along with comically high amounts of health. So getting rid of the defense value makes it much easier to kill them. And if you kill the floor and you go to the next floor, you actually carry over the defense break value. So it makes it easier to kill subsequent floors. So it can have uses there. But at the same time, I feel that you have to be aware that this is a reincarnated Revo form, which means it is permanent. And if you don't think you're going to get immediate value out of him right now, you're probably not going to get value in the future. And even if you did, if you were sticking with a different form, you could easily just make this Revo form at a later time. So I would still always caution anyone from committing to Revo forms unless you know there's a guaranteed usage for them. In terms of their leader skill, they're actually reasonably potent. They have flat health multiplier, which is always nice, and they have reasonable damage output, and you gain bonus orb movement time, you gain your full multiplier in matching 6 or more light orbs, as well as auto follow-up attack with 6 or more light orbs matched. So reasonably easy to use leader skill along with bonus orb movement time, but you have to be aware that he does not have any personal damage without a VDP. Technically in the future with, say, the Sinki Dragon and Feru, I can't pronounce their name well, there will be a nice potential leader pairing or a way to solve his orb hungriness, because in theory he does really want 9 light orbs all the time, because proccing that VDP does so much more damage for him compared to a row. But let's take a look at his weapon assist, because his weapon assist is pretty great overall when you think about it, because it does give a single skill boost, so it's always helpful for transforming. It does give a balance killer, and a balance killer is actually tremendously relevant in Alt Arena 4 level content, and probably higher as well, because at least in Alt Arena 4, every single spawn towards the end, like all the dragons, which is really the dangerous ones, and quite a few other ones beforehand, are balanced typing. And if you stick this weapon assist on your damage dealing card, you suddenly just gave your damage dealer 3 times personal damage against what is always going to be a spawn that appears in the dungeon, as well as being what is arguably the most dangerous spawn in the dungeon. So that alone is valuable. But the active skill takes it to a whole extra level, because for 1 turn it gives you orb movement time -2, so you self-harm your orb movement time by a sizable amount, but that also will drastically lower the cooldown to 9 turns for a single turn of damage absorption void. So you have a Fujin style active skill on a 9-turn cooldown. You technically can overwrite any time debuff. You also have the skill boost and a balance killer. A tremendously powerful weapon assist, and obviously has more value in endgame content if you're playing through things like Alt Arena 4, where the balance killer can truly make a difference. But even if you don't take advantage of the balance killer, you have a 9-turn damage absorption void, which counters what is arguably one of the most hated mechanics in the game. There's no way to puzzle around it. You have to have the active skill or you don't pass the dungeon. So having the active skill on a short cooldown can make a tremendous difference, especially when the dungeon has multiple damage absorption spawns in a row, or at least modestly spaced apart. So because it only lasts 1 turn, and with the time debuff, the cooldown is significantly lowered, but that is a great bonus to all players. So if you are fortunate to roll this individual here, making the weapon assist is going to be the best play in the most majority of situations, unless you have duplicates or you just truly have no need for this type of weapon assist. Next is Ren, and Ren in his base form is a reasonably generic card. It's not that magical, because the thing is, like, it has potentially 5 effective skill boosts, which is cool, some personal damage, but it's not that amazing. Their active skill only removes all bind and awoken binds. The delay probably won't be as helpful. And if you really look at his Revo form, it's a drastic upgrade because it provides so much utility. You get 2 seconds of orb movement time, which is usually quite rare. 777 combo, you have a super skill boost, you can get cloud resist. He does have a 2-turn delay, so now it's 4 effective skill boosts instead of 5. That's okay. Still removing all bind and awoken bind clears, but a 2-turn delay might come in handy. It's still removing binds and awoken binds, but the awakenings are much stronger by comparison, and he does have balanced devil typing, so Yugi teams can utilize him for skill boost solution as well as offensive damage, because they can take any killer as well as gaining 4 killer latent slots. So you can make him incredibly specialized to kill a certain spawn, which is obviously meaningful. But the thing is, on Yugi teams, most of the damage tends to come from 3x3 or VDPs. With a 777 combo card with prominent killers, you're able to possibly kill multiple spawns with just a row, instead of having to save orbs for that VDP. So that in turn could potentially hasten clear times. So it's kind of like a potential damage stick solution that's not VDP based. Definitely makes a big difference. In terms of problematic drawbacks, it obviously is a revo card, which in turn means it's permanent. As a leader, you must match 2 heart combos for damage reduction. That is quite impractical overall because stalling becomes quite dangerous. And if you don't have 2 heart combos, you're probably going to die because you don't have any damage reduction. Maybe you can pair someone that to patch it up, but for the most part, he's a much stronger sub. But just remember that this is a permanent evolution. If you are afraid of committing to a permanent evolution, their weapon assist is quite useful still. It does give you an extra second of orb movement time. That might be helpful for certain teams. 3 enhanced dark orbs, so nice amount of passive damage. And the active skill provides you 3 turns of delay as well as changing hearts to dark. So at least it comes with an orb changer. It's always going to have at least some value. But that 3 turn delay, if inherited on someone with an already low base cooldown, gives you 3 effective skill boosts. So if you don't have any other delays in your team and you have a way to actually trigger this active skill on floor 1, you can delay the spawn and gain 3 more turns of stalling. Quite powerful in those regards as well, because facilitating transformation is always a valuable aspect, and coming with passive damage alongside of it makes your life that much easier. And now we come to Elizabeth and Thanatos, who is the last 6-star card in this event. So, she is a reasonably generic card, but I feel like her weapon assist is much more value. She can have 4 effective skill boosts and cloud resist, as well as being able to clear all bind and awoken binds, as well as bypassing attribute absorb effects. So, a reasonable sub in those regards, but the thing is, the awakenings, I feel like it's not bringing that much to the table, and color absorb is a relatively niche counter for the most part, because you don't need it that often. Compared to damage absorption, you need damage absorption counter far more often, because at least damage absorption, at least with color absorb, you were able to potentially stall it out, wait for a different color, that sort of idea. You don't need to have a counter to pass a dungeon. You need to have a damage absorption to pass the dungeon. So the priority to bring Elizabeth does definitely diminish. Situationally, it might turn out helpful, but at the same time, her weapon assist is much more value, because when you want a high impact active skill, this weapon assist will bring that to you. It does provide a single enhanced heart orb, which can potentially bolster your healing output by a little bit, but the main draw is the active skill tied to it. It gives you 2 turns of RCV bonus, movement time bonus, so you overwrote those debuffs. Hooray! You also get 2 turns of damage absorb void and color absorb void. So you're countering 2 annoying and one potentially lethal mechanic in a single active skill. They never overlap, but at least you're prepared in all aspects. And it does pay off, because if you're playing through things like Shura Realm or Altarena 4, you'll need damage absorption early on, and you will possibly, having color absorb will make your life much easier at the end of the dungeon. So it is definitely a meaningful card to have, and the only drawback I can see is that it's quite similar to Umbrella or Reach Hat, but it provides worse awakenings by comparison. So if you have either Reach Hat or Umbrella, you might be better off already, but at the same time, it's still a useful active to have, and I would definitely utilize it on certain team compositions when playing through Shura Realm or Altarena 4, because the damage absorption with a color absorb alongside of it makes it nice, because if you didn't encounter Neptune Dragon, Yomi Dragon is guaranteed to die in 2 turns. Now we come to the 5-star cards, and none of the 5-star cards have a weapon assist along with low weighted stats. And because of that, it's going to make it much more difficult to justify rolling, because if you roll a 5-star card, you might get a little bit of value out of it initially, but a duplicate, you're not going to have value. And then at the same time, you might not even have a place to use the first one you rolled, because they have terribly low weighted stats along with awakenings that may not necessarily do what you want to do. But with that being said, let's take a look at the cards either way. So the first card here is actually the Orb Skin card, which means she's going to be a little stronger overall. So she's going to set the bar a bit higher, and then it's going to go downhill after that. So she has Super Jammer resist, she has Tape resist, she has Double 7 combo, Machine Killer, Devil Killer. Like, she has reasonably strong personal damage against reasonably common spawns. She does provide you with a nice array of resistances. She fully clears all unable to match orb effects, as well as changing the whole board to 4 colors plus heart orbs. And that's enough for rainbow teams, because most rainbow teams can activate without a single color. They can just use 4 colors and activate, and you're going to be on your happy little way. So as a whole, I feel like she's just a nice, reliable sub. Not like tremendously outstanding, I feel overall. Like, I feel like she's kind of like Dark Callie in a way, because both have that unable to match orb effect with a rainbow board changer on a reasonably similar cooldown. We both have reasonable personal damage, but this card here brings a bit more resist overall. But you need to be aware that she does not have skill bind resist, and At the same time, these are lower weighted stats, but on the bright side, it is possibly a different color, different typing from Dark Kali. It's different in all those aspects, actually, so it can give her different teams to actually slot her on. In terms of her leader skill, she needs to match 2 or more heart combos, which I explained beforehand is problematic. Yes, you do have bonus health with this leader at least, but at the same time, it's just going to be I find relying on heart combos, especially multiple heart combos, to be a clunky leader skill overall. Next is this individual here, and she does provide you with 3 skill boosts, a VDP, and some attacker and balance killer damage. She does have a single turn of delay, so it's 4 effective skill boosts, but at the same time, where are you going to really want to use this card? Maybe certain farming dungeons, like farming team compositions where you need to have high damage output against balance or attacker types with some skill boosts, maybe. Or a ranking dungeon, similar idea. But as a whole, I feel like she's going to be quite niche because you don't really want to bring her along to like arena level style content because those low weighted stats are going to hold you back. The active skill is helpful, but at the same time, reducing unable to match orb effects is not relevant until the much later arenas. And by that point, you probably have much better teams or cards available. Makoto here has some damage output, reasonable damage output actually against gods and attackers, can use any killer latent, so it basically just fulfills the role of I need a killer damage stick. But that's drastically negated by their abysmally low attack stats. So as far as killer sticks go, better ones will exist that cover the same typing just because they will have higher attack values. Because when you look at it, 915 weighted stats at a level 110 is just such a depressingly low number. Like, these are just terribly low numbers to look at, even at level 110. So if you have no other killer options available, this could possibly work. This girl here has 5 effective skill boosts, or 3 with an attack with a cloud resist. So pretty helpful overall. Has reasonably strong devil killing potential because they have double devil killer with double killer latents, and can take and has a VDP available. Their active skill gives you 1 turn of delay, and then healer is more likely to appear. So not the highest impact active skill, unfortunately, but I guess in a clutch, if you need 6 effective skill boosts, she could be your girl. But I might end up just using her for the 5 skill boosts and the double killing prowess, which might come in handy for certain like ranking dungeons in the future, or maybe like if I want to build a farming team that has a notable devil spawn at the end. It could be something worthwhile. Could be interesting to own, but not necessarily worth chasing because I guess you could just farm Razgul or Whale Doors to get a 5 skill boost card that has a lower base cooldown to inherit something else over top. This individual here, like, you have 4 skill boosts, you have 5 TPAs, but like, I wouldn't want to use you to help me transform. Like, I have better solutions out there. And if I'm looking for just a skill boost stick, I will farm a Tengu, who is a 4 skill boost card, but has a 4, not a 9 turn base cooldown with a skill bind resist. There's no real point to running this card over Tengu, I feel, for the most part, unless you truly want that 3.5 times attack burst. Maybe. I don't think it's that helpful. Tengu is farmable and easily farmable too. Akechi here has 3 skill boosts and along with 3 attack while below 80% and a machine killer. So he can do meaningful damage, but I feel like it's going to be only utilized in certain farming builds where I want to be low health, I have a light-based team, and I'm going to be smashing my way through with minimal combos. As a whole, I don't feel like it's going to be that highly impactful or desirable because light does not have the best array of attack while below 80% or attack while below 50% cards available to truly make them shine, but it might change in the future. Aigis has no true value overall, I feel. You do 20 damage to an enemy 5 times. I remember long time ago, Dark Meta, Tron Tamadra, and Zeal were annoying spawns because they had a void mechanic and we didn't have VDP, so this little ping multiple times could kill them. That was great, like, 4 or 5 years ago? I don't even remember. So long ago. But nowadays, there are so many sexier ways to overcome these spawns that, like, this is truly not necessary. I wouldn't want to use her as a sub. Wouldn't want to use her as an inherit. I can't find a use for them at all. And then lastly, we come to Teddy. And Teddy has a unique active skill that gives you 9 turns of 25% damage reduction on an 11-turn cooldown. So this can give you a sizable amount of effective health. Like, this is a sizable amount of effective health increase for a prolonged period of time with a high uptime. Using Teddy as a sub is obviously less ideal, so you stick him on something with a low 1-turn cooldown potentially, but at the same time, I feel like most teams don't need this extra long shield. The only truly applicable place that I can think of needing it is your Yomi Norza teams in Alt Arena 4. in solo mode, because if you get mine and then Corone afterwards, you lose your damage reduction shield and you die to the preemptive to Corone, which is bad. So you need to have at least a 2+ turn shield available, which means Teddy does technically work. At the same time, if you have something like Kuribo, I would much prefer Kuribo, because Kuribo has a long-lasting damage reduction as well, +1 combo count as well, but it gives you double skill bind resist and an L awakening, whereas Teddy Inherited does not give anything. So Teddy might have situational value, but if you have something like Kuribo, you're probably not going to actually utilize Teddy. So, do I plan to roll? The answer is no. I am not attracted to 85% of the rolls in this event. I'd love to get a diamond egg, it would be helpful, but it's not worth me rolling for 85% chance of sadness and 15% chance to be possibly happy to excited. It's not worth it, but it's always nice to dream. And if I were to pick my dream's 6-star card, I would pick this purple transforming card here, because even though I have A10, it gives me an alternative damage solution for a different type, different typing, different color, gives different possibilities, and it also will give me a powerful 6x5 rainbow leader I can utilize, because I don't have that many options available, and I can just potentially just open up stuff for my monster box. Or I might want to get the yellow guy with the powerful weapon assist for the 9-turn Fujin style, but I feel like I could possibly get away without that. Again, these are just dreaming cards anyways. For my 5-star card, I feel like I would pick the Orb Skin one, because it's just rarer to roll. In the future, let's say things get buffed, I would have the Orb Skin card already. I'd be happier if I then compared to the easier to roll cards by comparison. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's going to necessarily change my life overall. It would give me some more options for rainbow-based cards, because she is a reasonably strong rainbow sub. So in conclusion, I feel like the Persona Collab is a top-heavy affair, because it comprises only 15% of the rolling pool, but it comprises all of the good cards. All of the 6-star cards are well ranked in my opinion, and all the bottom rarity cards are down here. And that is definitely problematic, because there is not much value in rolling. If you are gung-ho about this event and you want to get the high rarity cards, I would strongly recommend you utilize the Monster Exchange system, because it will give you a much better time overall. You only need 4 trade fodder, and it only needs 6-star Godfest exclusives, so your life will be much easier. And if you do end up trading or rolling in this event, let me know what was your main motivation for doing so in the comments below. Either way, hopefully you have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.